He's the shove-it man, oh he's the shove-it man. He's gonna shove it, yeah, he's gonna shove it, man.
It's the Hawkman, and I'm back with episode 85 of NWA TNA. See, I can hold up my end of the deal, sometimes. Consistency is the key to unlocking the door, and the Hawk is the key to unlocking your Hawk. Alright, who's ready to spray? It's time for NWA TNA. On the last episode, we saw one of the biggest spot fests in wrestling history of the World X Cup, won by Team Mexico once again. But today, we're back to a normal show featuring all the lovable jobbers and scrubs that we all come to love. Except, the Hawk watching some of these guys is like pulling teeth. The show starts with Frankie Kazarian taking on Elix Skipper. Kaz is on a war against Team NWA because he's sad that he wasn't chosen for their little team. Skipper is always a lot of fun and he hits his rope hawk hurricanrana. Kazarian is the first to dive out the ring. Skipper then hits a belly to belly but misses his top rope leg drop. That'll knock off some piles. Kaz's Back to the Future doesn't get the job done, but moments later he wins with a roll up. Not as good as you would expect for these two guys. Kaz is a bad loser too, but Jerry Lynn, who makes the girls grin, makes the save. In the background is the gifted cash only cab drivers. Also here is Shawn Michaels' cousin and Johnny Swinger. They are entering some sort of number one contendership match tonight. Kid Cash doesn't like being bossed around by the gifted one and calls him Scotty Not Too Hotty. Vince Russo out next with horrible music which sounds like someone squeezing a fart through a tube of cheese. He's here to talk about Chris Harris, the number one contender. He confirms he isn't a heel and he's just been trying to make sure that Chris Harris is ready to become a world champion. They're interrupted by a man called Raisin and Sabu. Don't you love how Russo and TNA somehow tower over the wrestlers? He is angry that he doesn't have a match tonight and says he deserves a title shot. Vince says he's been calling him all week, but Raven couldn't be bothered to answer because he was doing God only knows what. Russo offers them a tag team title shot, but Raven doesn't want that, he only wants a world title shot. Vince then offers to put him in the Gauntlet match tonight, but Raven rejects this idea too. Finally, Vince offers to put him in a number one contenders match with AJ and Abyss, but Raven once again rejects this idea. What a moron. Russo has now run out of ideas. Raven suggests that he actually takes Chris Harris's place, who's getting the world title shot tonight. This starts to get more and more heated as Raven's nappy fills with anger. Russo decides to stand by his decision and he will not take Chris Harris out of the main event. Raven compares this to WCW politics, even though Russo reminds him that he's always had his back. Raven leaves, but tonight he says he's going to cause some trouble. Just a reminder that Monty Brown strangely returned to TNA last week. He formed the most random faction of all time, the Gifted Alpha Cash Only Cab Drivers. He's got an interview talking about hating clowns. He's straight into his Serengeti character now with the funny mannerisms and impressions. He promises to hit the pounce, period. Probably the best promo of all time on this show at this point. His match is up next. Monty Brown takes on jobber Chris Vaughn. Mike Tenay desperately tells us that this black shirt security scrub is one of the biggest fan favourites in TNA. Well, if that's the case, this company is screwed. Jobber Vaughn slaps him and dumps in his nappy affair running Monty Brown around the ring, but he eventually catches up with the jobber and hits the Scott Hall special. Brown hits a net breaker on the outside. Oh great, Johnny Fairplay is in the front row. It doesn't go much longer as Brown takes his head off with a clothesline and the pounce. The Alpha Bomb finishes the match. Monty Brown is a bad winner as he hits another powerbomb. A Harris boy stops Monty from doing any more damage. In the back, a spotty AJ Styles talks about his match with Abyss tonight, amongst other things. He confirms he's not aligned with Vince Russo this time. Shane Douglas will now face James Storm, who's been out of action for a very long time with a busted up arm. Storm quickly clotheslines him out the ring and hits a slingshot crossbody. Suddenly the match turns botchy and horrible with an Irish whip where nobody seems to know who's whipping who, and then Storm's kicks don't go to plan either. Douglas turns the match, kicking Storm to the outside. He hits a neck snapper in the ring and smiles with happiness. He then makes the bad decision to try and fly. Of course, Storm slams him from the top. The cowboy comes close with clotheslines and closer again with a snap slam. Tracy Brooks is distracting the referee, which is bad timing as her man hits the belly to belly and the ref doesn't know about it. Douglas briefly argues with Tracy and then turns around into the last call super kick and it's over. Shane Douglas argues with Tracy Brooks again and Shawn Michaels' cousin, Michael Shane, but ultimately he calms them all down and this terrible faction will be continuing. They stay with this angle for an irritating amount of time when, let's be honest, nobody cares. In the back, a wild Slapnuts appears.
Jeff Jarrett.
Abyss is also with him as he's facing AJ Styles for the number one contendership tonight. Slapnuts makes fun of Chris Harris by saying that he's scared hiding in his little locker room. Goldilocks randomly interrupts the promo with Eric Watts on the phone. Slapnuts calls him a big goof and hopes he's enjoying the unemployment line. Abyss makes kissy faces at Goldilocks. Now it'll be time for some sort of number 1 contendership gauntlet match. We start out with the Diamond Man, Simon, and the master of the cab driver slam, David Young. The cabbie hits his taxi rank kick and an enziguri kick and a drop kick. He's making the Diamond pay his fare tonight. Then the Diamond just throws him out before the third guy has even entered the match. It's going to be Kid Cash. He fares a bit better than the cabbie and actually makes it to the next guy, who is D'Lo Brown. Brown gives Cash a 3/4 net breaker. Brown and Diamond hit a back body drop together and also a back suplex. In next, it's the gifted Glenn Gilberti. How is he gifted? D'Lo quickly powerbombs him. Kid Cash looks like he's done, but then he holds on and skins the cat and somehow sends D'Lo out of the match. D'Lo Brown is the second elimination? What a jobber. Sonny, don't look at my ass, Siaki is next up. He hits a nice pop-up power slam to Kid Cash, a drop kick to Disco, and a full Nelson suplex also to Kid Cash. It's going well until Raisin interferes and he plants Siaki of a Raisin effect. This is because he views Siaki as one of Russo's boys. Siaki is eliminated. Michael Shane up next. It's like they're trying to annoy me as much as possible with the eliminations of anybody that people care about. I never thought the gifted Glenn Gilberti would be the most popular man in the ring. That doesn't change with the half-man, half-spud Conad out next. He drops Cash on his face, but Michael Shane quickly takes him out of Sweet Chin Music. At this point, everyone's really relieved to see the truth. Conad eliminates Kid Cash, but gifted Glenn eliminates him. The Diamond Man eliminates Gilberti. For God's sake, Johnny Swinger is the last man, and he eliminates his former partner. Down to the final 3. Seriously? There's 3 men in the ring, but there's only one possible outcome. Johnny Swinger is eliminated by Michael Shane. Now Truth and Shane will have a one-on-one match. Shane hits a pretty nice hip toss slam, but no pin is made. He continues cheating and is offered help from Shane Douglas's chain, but he won't use that for some reason. Bad choice, because Truth hits him with a front suplex for the 3. Ron the Truth is now a world title contender. Is this the start of him getting back to the main event scene? Probably not. The new franchise consider fighting each other, but they can't be bothered. In the back, Vince, Russo and Raven have a screaming match. Russo says despite their friendship he won't stand for his actions tonight. He also makes Sabu leave, who hasn't really done anything wrong. Up next, wow, it's a ladder match for the number 1 contendership for the Slapnuts belt. Feels like everyone's going to be a number 1 contender on this show. The Monster Abyss versus AJ Styles. In all honesty, this is probably the earliest example of a great TNA feud. AJ catches Abyss out very early on with a Pele kick. AJ isn't strong enough to monkey flip him or dive him down though, and Abyss takes his head off. The ladder comes into action. Abyss shoves it into Styles, who responds by barging the monster off the apron. Styles climbs the ladder, but he takes too long and the ladder is shoved over. That's a real turning point for the match. Abyss whips him into a corner ladder and just spends a while sort of waddling around. Styles comes back with a wheelbarrow bulldog into the ladder, a springboard dropkick and a dive out of the ring. He still can't retrieve the prize hanging in the sky, and Abyss knocks him back to the mat and also hits a shock treatment backbreaker. The monster sets up another ladder on the outside. Styles does manage to fight off the chokeslam by biting the Abyss, but Abyss soon boots him in the nutsack and smashes him into a corner chair. Abyss has nasty intentions with 2 more chairs, however Styles still has something in the tank and he hits a Styles Clash. AJ gorms out for a while before climbing up the ladder and hitting a crazy 450 to the monster. The monster still isn't done, and they fight on the top of the ladder, eventually ending with Styles giving him a sunset flip powerbomb into the chairs. Styles has this match in the bag, but then a man called Raisin appears on the ring apron. What a dick. That allows Abyss to push the ladder over as Styles falls outside the ring and hits the ladder on the outside. Abyss climbs the ladder and he wins. So may I remind you that the heel Abyss, who is aligned with Jeff Jarrett, is now the number 1 contender for his belt. What a match. Russo looks depressed. TNA and Don West make some match announcements. Next week, Monty Brown versus the Harris Twin and a tournament to decide the new tag team champions. So I guess AJ Styles and Abyss have just given up because they're supposed to be the champions. Pretty low-key vacation of that belt. In the car park, AJ Styles and Raven exchange words. Sabu splits them up. Chris Harris gets a very long hype package for his title shot. The issue is that he hasn't beaten anybody important, just jobbers and scrubs. They desperately try to hype up 28-year-old Chris Harris, but I'm not sure it's working. They even show his family at ringside, but it's just impossible to buy that he has a chance against world champion Slapnuts. At least the crowd are firmly behind Harris. Harris starts out with some hip tosses. Jarrett dodges the third and smiles like the cat that got the cream. Jeff spends ages winding up Mike Tenay as he often likes to do. James Storm forces him into the ring. Chris Harris hits a power slam for a 2 count. Wildcat comes close again for a roll-up, a backslide and a small package. Jarrett dumps in his nappy of fear and hides on the outside. Abyss is randomly shown on his own viewing platform. The refs then storm to the back, which is fine as long as Jarrett's cronies are also banned from ringside, as Russo is guaranteed a fair fight here. Back in the ring, and Harris hits a bulldog and a reverse atomic drop. The flying dropkick destroys Slapnuts and he's sent from the ring, where Harris nails a dive. He beats Jarrett up in front of his family. Unfortunately, he spends too long showing off to his family and he runs up the steps and catches nothing but the fence. Back in the ring, Harris turns over a crossbody for a 2 count. Jarrett shuts him straight back down with an enziguri. Slapnuts now hits a cab driver slam, not a move you'd often associate with Slappy. It's not over. Harris eventually returns with a full Nelson slam, but he can't hit his diving ass drop. Slapnuts puts on the figure 4, and Harris holds on for a very long time, and Slappy just can't get the job done. Chris Harris tries to improve the excitement of this match by hitting a top rope dive over the crowd barrier. An announcement is randomly made that if both men don't get back in the ring by 10, Jarrett will keep his belt. Why would Jarrett be in a rush now? Well, strangely and completely out of character, Jarrett makes it back to the ring first. Harris ends up hitting a delayed vertical suplex and a top rope elbow drop for a 2 count. Jeff Jarrett still managed to reverse the catatonic, but Harris manages to reverse the stroke and he hits a spear for a 2 count. The match then goes to complete bird turd when Harris spears the referee down whilst not even being that close to Jeff Jarrett. The energy comes out of the crowd and they moan and groan. Both guys end up with steel chairs and Harris gets the best of that exchange. A new referee has arrived who somehow misses Jarrett smacking Harris out with the title belt. The new ref can only count to 2. Jarrett tries to use the belt again, but the new ref is stronger than the last, and that allows Harris to hit the catatonic on Jarrett for a 2. Then there's another ref bump. Double J hits the stroke, but no ref. A new ref arrives, and he only gets a 2. Jarrett has another tug of war with the referee. James Storm returns and he super kicks Jeff Jarrett. This time, Raven pulls the referee out of the ring. Raven must be high because he keeps screaming "Where's Russo" when he's clearly stood on the ramp. This distracts the referee and Slapnuts smacks Harris with the guitar for the 3. They promised a fair match. 2 different people interfered in the match. Don't you love it when wrestling companies lie to you?
NWA Impact brings you the Smack of the Week, sponsored by all new Blonde for Men. If you're a brown-haired Potter, put some blonde in it. It makes you look hotter.
Oh man, the man called Raisin is here distracting the referee, man, and the Memphis Mid-Card Cabbage Patch Curly-Head Cruncher Vagina Muncher Slapnut sees an opportunity. Oh, he smacks Wildcat Chris Paris with the acoustic instrument. He's left his head with a dent.
That was the NWA TNA Smack of the Week, sponsored by Blonde Just for Men. Get it? Got it? Shove it.
The show ends with Russo warning Raven that next week he is screwed, and AJ Styles and Raven fight. It was alright. The first half of the show was borderline unbearable, but things picked up during the second half. If you don't agree with that, I'll make sure you never laugh.